2011 marked the release of Dark Souls, and 12-year-old me fell in love. Sinking in well over 500 hours into this game, I followed many popular streamers, content creators, and actively participated in PvP fight clubs also. Fast forward to now, and there isn't a better way for me to relearn a game I love than to speedrun it in less than 1 hour. This is learning how to speedrun Dark Souls in 1 week. In case you're unfamiliar with what a run for this game looks like, I'm going to briefly explain how a section of the any percent speedrun has evolved over the years. So let's take a little visit to everyone's favorite, Blighttown. Widely regarded as one of the worst areas in the game, Blighttown has seen many developments throughout the any percent route. First, runners would enter through Valley of the Drakes through this door, and then descend normally. That is, until it was discovered that by walking off of a certain plank, you would get just enough room to land and roll to safety. Then, upon the release of the remastered version of the game, runners used a tech called meme rolls, yes, that is the actual name, to bypass an otherwise lethal fall. And then, people realized, why the f do we even need to go to Blighttown? Now, I want to make a disclaimer here that I am not an elite runner by any means, nor am I summoning Soul. So this video isn't going to be a tutorial on how to beat this game fast or a history of the entire any percent run, but rather a story about how a random challenge I gave myself ended up reminding me of the importance of setting goals, consistently practicing, and most importantly that I can do anything I put my mind to. For our first session, we started off with a nice little casual playthrough to regain some muscle memory, and from there, someone in chat was nice enough to link us to a tutorial on how to run. And after a little studying, we got to practicing. And absolutely nothing went wrong. This route starts with making a beeline to 2 key items that will act as our main source of damage. The red Tearstone Ring and the Black Knight Halberd. Unfortunately, the Halberd is not a guaranteed drop. In fact, it only has about a 27% chance to drop from this guy. So if we don't get it, we have to reset. Across the entire first day of runs, we got a grand total of 0 Halberds. Needless to say, we didn't get much practice because of this. I know, so unlucky. But we do have 6,900 souls, which is pretty epic. Before going live for day 2, we figured out Live Split and got ourselves a nice little overlay, but only had time for a very short stream. As we were going through our run today, it was very obvious we were missing something. Black Knight Halberds. Goal for today is get a Black Knight Halberd to drop. With as little practice as we had from the day before, things were going about how you would expect them to. Oh, no, 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 no! Roll at a 90-degree angle, and then roll! Not the best roll I've seen. And once again, we got a whopping 0 Black Knight Halberds, which was epic. After each stream, I would write down my thoughts and basically journal about what happened that day. And the first and only entry for this day says, "We're so f***ed, LMAO." We did a couple runs off stream later that night, and we finally managed to get a halberd to drop. We didn't finish the run, but we were perfectly set up to practice the back half of the route the following day. Now that we finally have a BKH to work with, we get to practice the first big trick of the run, Send Skip. At this point in the game, if we were to travel to Send's fortress, we're only going to be greeted by But since we're a professional speedrunner now, we get to bypass the normal requirements and walk straight inside. And we're going to do that by abusing Dark Souls' death cam. When you fall to your death in this game, you've probably noticed that the camera angle changes to a top-down perspective. In this state, the game actually stops loading new areas because it thinks you're dead, and this is exactly what we're going to use to pass this big gate blocking our path. By standing at a specific spot on the stairs in the parish, and parrying our friend right here, we trick the game into thinking that we've fallen off the map, which triggers the death cam I was just talking about, and it's at this point the game stops loading anything else. So with this fun perspective we have now, we navigate our way back down the stairs, out of the bonfire room, to cross the gap until, boom, we're in. From here, we climb up Sends as usual, dodging axes, saying hello to the locals, and making sure to trigger our red Tearstone Ring before crossing the boss fog. At least that's the idea. I also have neglected to mention up to this point that I had a lot riding on this 7-day challenge. As a way to hold myself accountable to actually get the sub-hour time, maybe if I don't get it, I will shave my head as punishment. I need a haircut soon anyways. Anyway, we're fighting Iron Golem, and the goal is to poke his ankles enough so that when we stagger him, he falls off the bridge. Part of our strategy involves alternating between the War Pick and Fire Bombs to do damage, and since we ran out of Fire Bombs on that attempt, we had to reset. And I thought that I duped my save file so that I could just start back at the parish again, but I am an idiot. So it's back to BKH Farming Simulator 2024, which we did for another 30 minutes until we finally got a drop. for the wrong item. I got so fed up with the lack of halberds that I started keeping a counter for how many we've gotten. It took us 2 entire hours of streaming or 24 different attempts just to get one single BKH. I think it's worth noting that based on these numbers, the halberd has only dropped 4% of the time. When we finally got one to drop, I was so done with resetting, I did not care about my time. I duped my save file on the spot. For the next 20 minutes, we masterfully ascended Sen's Fortress until we actually beat Iron Golem for the first time and got to see the peak of this game, and Orlando. And I think right here is where I kind of got why people speedrun. To those who've never tried it, it may seem a bit strange, but there's something really satisfying about being able to execute a series of tricks, movements, and make decisions with such a small margin of error. As we've seen, it takes just one mistake to kill a run, but the prospect of grinding down my time and getting better at some of these tricks and skips became a challenge I wanted to embrace instead of one that I dreaded practicing. After getting past the rafters though, that's kind of where our luck ended for the night. I had an early morning the next day and logged off. After ending stream on day 3, I realized that I'm almost halfway through this challenge and I haven't completed a single run. For the sake of my sanity and my hair, I looked into some resources my Discord shared with me and discovered a beginner-friendly route that didn't rely on any RNG. While the idea of relearning the route I just spent the past 3 days practicing wasn't very attractive, spending the rest of the week resetting for a halberd felt a whole lot worse. So we got to gaming. Once we're in Firelink, instead of going down, we go up through the berg and make a pit stop at the Undead Merchant. We're going to buy the rapier, a short bow, a shield, and some arrows. These might seem a bit random, but I promise they're vital to the run. On our way out, we make sure to pick up the gold pine resin, not only for extra damage on Taurus Demon, but also so that we have enough damage to cut off the Hellkite Drake's tail and get the Drake Sword. Even though this is a new route, our practice on Sen Skip does carry over, and all seemed to be going well until we attempted the glitch this run hinges on, weapon swap. To the uninitiated, this glitch allows you to wield weapons in ways that you aren't supposed to by swapping the running attacks of one weapon onto another. Long story short, this is how it looks when you trigger it, and this is what the attacks are supposed to look like. I really think I was close to hitting it here a couple times, but for the life of me, I couldn't get it to work. And without it, the run is dead, full stop, since it's our only way to deal any substantial damage. That was the first and only run this day that got to Sens, and we never got any further. I'd be lying to you if I said I wasn't starting to question things. I've wasted 3 whole days on a route I'm not even using anymore, and the new one I'm practicing hasn't yielded any results either. I'm trying really hard to stay positive, but having gone through 4 days and not having a single run on the board is starting to get to me. We have to figure this trick out or it's bye-bye hair. Moving forward, you'll notice that I'm picking a female player character. This is intentional and will help solve our weapon swap problem from yesterday. To be more specific, I discovered an alternate method to perform the trick after yesterday's stream. However, for whatever reason, it only works if your character is female. And although it's a little bit slower, it is so much more consistent. Again, we're not going for world record here, just sub 1 hour. The execution is a bit different, but the same principle still applies. We're tricking the game into two-handing a weapon in a way we're not supposed to. Here we hit it within our first couple tries and adventure into the boss fight. And not only that, we got the quick kill on Iron Golem too.
Got it. Let's go, we got it.
Once we're back in Orlando, we wave hello to our friends, the Painted Guardians and the Archers, on our way to hit a safety bonfire and roll through this illusory wall to pick up our weapon for the remainder of the run, the Dragon Tooth. We run up these stairs and jump over the railing to skip right before Biggie and Smalls. We're going to move swap once again, which means we're going to have the speed of the Rapier moveset combined with the raw damage and stagger potential of the Dragon Tooth. Tom and Jerry were just as awful as you remember them, but we eventually triumph. Finally. Quick reminder here, we are on day 5 out of 7 and we are only just now at the halfway point in the game. This is a huge victory for us, but there's still a lot of work to be done, with not a lot of time left. Anyway, we get the Lord Vessel for our troubles and move on to the Bells of Awakening, which are the only things standing between us and skipping to the end of the game. Unsurprisingly, gargoyles were an absolute pushover. But after this, I got to remember what true fear looks like. Remember those meme rolls I was telling you about? Now's where they come in. And even though it has a silly little name, this trick posed a huge challenge to us. I spent 45 minutes with chat working through several different setups just to try to get one of them to land correctly. Once again, we're stumped by a glitch that we can't do. I could feel the frustration setting in, so I stepped away for a few hours and then did a few more runs off stream later that night. Before you go typing skill issue in the comments, I did some research and found out that the Prepare to Die edition, the version of the game I'm playing on, is actually unable to perform this trick. So instead, I resorted to an OG strategy of skipping Blighttown, which made my life a whole lot easier. I think the lesson to learn here is that if you're having an issue with something, it might serve you well to step away for a bit and then come back later with a fresh set of eyes. You may have missed a key detail that was right in front of you the whole time. In these offline runs, we did really well. We hit Blighttown skip almost immediately and beat Quelaag on like our second attempt. Which means we're in the final part of our run. We've done everything necessary for us to perform the final trick of the run, Homeward Wrong Warp, and skip to the end of the game. I'm going to do my best to give a brief description of how and why this trick works. To do so, we first need to buy a talisman and the miracle Homeward from Petrus. Next, we rested the Lord Vessel bonfire, attuned the Homeward miracle, and teleport to the Undead Parish. This is crucial since we need the game to remember our last bonfire being the Lord Vessel. From here, we equip the Pyromancy Flame in our left hand and our talisman in the right. Once equipped, we cast Fireball in our left hand, and a single frame later, or within 1/30th of a second, we toggle our spells, cast with our talisman in the right hand, and rested the bonfire in front of us. If performed correctly, it will look as though we're casting Homeward with our Pyromancy Flame, and the game will teleport us to Kiln of the First Flame. Because we cast Homeward and rested at a bonfire, the game doesn't really know where to put us, so it just places us at the default spawn location of whatever our last bonfire was, which for the Lord Vessel just so happens to be the very end of the game. So now that we're here, we still have to kill the boss, but unfortunately we fell short of beating him. We landed a few hits, but we just couldn't close it out. We're supposed to try and stunlock him with our running attacks, but I was pathing incorrectly after the fact, which meant Gwyn's AI wasn't cooperating. Looking back on this, it's pretty easy to see why his AI wasn't behaving the correct way, but in the moment, I was just so focused on hitting him, I wasn't even thinking about that. This session taught us a lot. It's better for us to practice with specific goals in mind rather than just be good at everything. Breaking things down into these bite-sized pieces and tricks makes them seem a whole lot more approachable. I say this because after our stream earlier this day, I made a note about how we kept missing the running attacks on the Iron Golem, and now, lo and behold, we're on the final boss struggling with the same thing. And even though we still haven't completed a run yet, we made incredible progress today. We're on the penultimate day of this challenge, and full transparency, I really did not want to do this today. I had an awful day at work, but you know what? I'm not going to let the bad carry into these runs. I'm going to work on improving my splits, and I set a goal of getting 2 runs off the ground and getting into Anor Londo at least once. During our first successful run of the stream, we got to Sens and then realized we forgot to make our character female. If we remember from yesterday, this is actually required for the alternate move swap method to work. After spending 5 minutes trying to do the original method to save the run, we reset and got back to running. We made it a habit with chat of naming our character after whatever the previous run died to, so please say hello to Gender. The next time around, we hit move swap pretty quickly, and I was feeling good this run. I even called my shot.
Alright, I'm gonna get Iron Golem on the first try for y'all.
And that's exactly what we did, and with a huge 3-minute time save to boot. But I forgot I'm playing Dark Souls, and the game decided it had to humble me real quick. Let me know why this random mob decided today was the day to learn how to animation cancel. The ONS fight is still a bit rough around the edges, but we managed to take them down after a couple tries, and even with our deaths, we golded yet again. Today is just gold split after gold split after gold split. I mean, this run has been hot. 3 golds in a row is insane, and it's even crazier because I was this close to not going live today. After this, we default dance on gargoyles, and I try not to clench too hard whenever I do the Blighttown skip. Jesus Christ, man, this shit scares me every time. I'm kind of glossing over how well this run is going, but just look at the gold splits we have here. Our hard work is really paying off. I did mess up live split here, but we can fix that after the fact, and we can also look at our in-game timer to get a ballpark number for our time. But back on topic, we're sitting right at 42 minutes. Sub 1 hour is absolutely in the picture here. After Quelaag comes the wrong warp, which we were really struggling with. I already emphasized this before, but I can't overstate how precise this trick is. Hitting 1 frame out of 30 is a lot easier said than done. What also kind of sucks about missing this trick is that if you run out of fireballs, you have to rest at a bonfire to replenish the charges. But you also have to have your last bonfire be the Lord Vessel, so I'm bleeding a significant amount of time by missing this trick so many times consecutively. After banging my head against the wall for a bit, we're in Kiln and moving on to our first Gwyn fight. We did pretty well on our first attempt, but we're kind of scrambling to link these running attacks together. They need to be a lot smoother than this to be more consistent. Like with all of the previous sections I've struggled with, I studied some footage and watched other runners practice this fight and realized what I was specifically doing wrong with my pathing to mess up the AI I referenced during yesterday's Gwyn fights. You can see that now, after each running attack, I have to run behind Gwyn, which stalls him for just enough time for me to regain enough stamina for another attack and another loop behind him. Here's my real-time explanation of the trick.
Then we go around. Then we go around. Then we go around.
Jokes aside, you could hear it in my voice how with each running attack I'm getting more and more excited until... Holy shit, we did it! Let's go! Let's fucking go, dude! Holy shit, we did it, but we don't have the timer running. Did we hit sub 1 hour? I loaded the save file to see what the in-game timer reads, and we're just short, and the live split timer is sitting there, taunting me. So we didn't hit sub 1 hour, but it is so doable. Following this run, I reflected on what I need to do better heading into the final day of runs. I can't focus on the lack of time left, only on what I can control to do better going into the next day. Like I said previously, we need to break down the larger task into smaller, more manageable ones. Things like Taurus Demon, the Berg, and just about everything up until Iron Golem is actually pretty sloppy for us still. So I wanted to start there. And what makes these early sections especially tough is that if I mess them up, it's basically a forced reset because of how long the run back is. Aside from that, the Gwyn fight was still another big sore spot for us. Even though I didn't want to hit go live this day, I was so happy that I did. If we didn't push through it, we wouldn't have gotten this run on the board or learned what we did. And not to get sappy here, but I really think this applies to a lot of other things in life too. It's days like these that allow you to prove to yourself how strong and resilient you can be. Even though this day had a bad start, it had a great finish. I went to bed that night happy, but I'd be lying if I said that 42-minute timer didn't haunt my dreams. Was it a sign of what's to come or a reminder of what I couldn't achieve? Only one way to find out. This is it, the final day to complete our challenge. We have dedicated the last 6 days to practice, and now it's all down to execution. Let's get into it. Hot off the heels of the last day of runs, we jump into Lordran, and honestly, things are going pretty rough. The stream had only just started, and we were already getting tilted. The Undead Berg was absolutely out to get me today. I don't know what was going on. Arguably, the easiest section of this run was ripping me to shreds. And it took a while, but after a bit of messing around, we get a run off the ground and go for a safety bonfire, a slower but safer strategy. We had a few bumps in the road, sure, but now we're locked in. By now, you all know the drill. We're in Sens making a beeline for Golem, we move swap the Drake Sword, and then take on the boss. And finish with a gold split too. The rust is fully knocked off now, and we are good to go and take on Rafters. We've hit our stride these runs. There's absolutely nothing that can stop us.
Somehow, I survived that. For better, I spoke too soon?
The Space Jam duo actually treated us pretty well this run, and we beat them on our second try. All of the practice leading up to today is paying off. Each failure on the way was simply a stepping stone to our success. We gold split ONS.
Boom. Minus 4 minutes. Oh my god, we are balling. Guys, we're gaming today.
Couldn't have said it better myself. We save a huge 3 minutes on gargoyles, but unfortunately we stumble a little and throw away a kill on Quaylog, which she only had a pixel of health left. This especially sucks because the run back down to Blighttown is pretty lengthy, so I sure hope we don't die again.
Rough.
We died again. We eventually killed Quaylog, but not without us losing a few more minutes. Our pace is slipping, but sub 1 hour is absolutely still within our reach. All we need to do now is homeward wrong warp, which we're actually getting pretty good at. We set up the trick by buying the necessary materials, but we forget one key thing.
I didn't buy the talisman, dude. I'm messing up. I'm choking. No!
I'm watching the timer slowly creep up to the 60-minute mark, and I'm coping hard.
I'm just throwing for content, guys, I swear.
I might not have had the most faith in myself at this point, but chat is inspiring me to keep this run alive, in spite of our mistakes.
I have no idea who you are, but you can do it. That's what I like to hear.
We've really struggled to set up move swap, but once we get it, we rush to Gwyn. Sub 1 hour is right here. What we've been working so hard for is right in front of us. But this fight is sloppy, and I'm trading hits left and right. With each attack miss, we're wasting more and more precious time. But look, we're actually pulling the trick off on Gwyn. The goal is within our grasp. Except we whiffed one of the hits of the running attack. And we give Gwyn an inch, he takes a mile. And as we're scrambling to get back to the fog gate, the timer climbs closer and closer to the hour mark. We only have 30 seconds left to try and save this run, and it just couldn't happen. We weren't going to hit sub 1 hour on this run, but we might as well try and finish it. And while I commend myself for not getting too tilted, I will say the decision to continue this run did provide you all with a real-time replay of me getting a noise complaint filed towards my apartment. Well, that took long enough. We literally spent 40 minutes trying to beat Gwen with nothing to show for it. I needed tonight to be the night. We don't have any more days to practice. We are out of time. And so with my back against the wall, I bargained with chat.
Okay, all right. Hear me out. We do one more. We die, stream's over, I'm shutting it off, I'm pressing Alt F4, and I'm gonna go like play fucking like Subway Surfers or some shit. I need to like detox my brain. If the run gets past, let's say we make it to the Undead Parish bonfire, we keep it going.
And in typical Jacare fashion, we do one more run, expecting the worst, but hoping for the best. Our last shot to prove that we can beat Dark Souls in under an hour. Although we had a slow start in Asylum, this run was hot, with the best Taurus Demon fight we've gotten so far. I'm really locked in for this run, which, while important, wasn't the real reason why we were doing well. I got to show a friend of mine the joy that is Dark Souls speedrunning, and this is what was pushing me this run. The hype and support and just straight up having fun, which is why we all started this in the first place, right? Our splits are red by the time we get into Sens, but honestly, the run feels fantastic, with a quick weapon swap and an even quicker golem kill. But disaster strikes. Not once, not twice, but 3 different times. And just like that, the wind's taken out of my sails. Our final chance is slipping away before our very eyes. Was this all for nothing? Am I going to have to shave my head? Not a chance. Time to lock in, and against all odds, we managed a gold split here. Just looking at our timer, we're in the red, but sub 1 hour is absolutely doable. There is a ton of time to save in the back half of this run with Quelaag and Gwen's fights. And every mom and their mother decided to cheer me on. And in spite of our earlier setbacks, we beat Quelaag into submission and forge onward. We cannot lose our focus. We still have to hit the wrong warp and kill Gwen. We're still in the red, but we have to keep going. Every hit, every dodge, every step matters. We only have a few good tries left before we officially fail. And even in the face of adversity, the dream is alive. And although my heart is beating out of my chest and my hands are shaking from the nerves, we cross the gate to face our foe. We're eating hits left and right. Gwen is absolutely unrelenting. But one opening is all we needed. We got him into our loop, each walk behind and running attack executed as soon as possible so as to not let him reset. His health bar is almost empty, and we lunge for our last attack. And Gwen dodges it. I'm panicking. I don't have time to heal. We have to end this right here, right now. And amidst the flurry of attacks, Gwen gives us one opening, and it's all we needed.
Let's go! Let's fucking go, dude! Holy shit! My heart's beating out my fucking chest right now. Link the fire, 4207. Let's fucking go, dude. Sub hour. What'd I fucking say? What did I say? Oh my god. Oh.
And as the credits roll, we take it all in. In the 11th hour, we achieved what we set out to do. An oddly bittersweet moment for chat.
Sadly, you don't have to shave your head now. Oh my god, I was hoping y'all would remember that.
With this under my belt, I truly feel as though I can accomplish anything. And maybe that was the point of all this. In spite of every missed skip, failed trick, or accidental death, we ended up completing our goal. It may have taken us 6 whole days just to complete a single run, but who cares? The only progress I needed to worry about is my own. A mentor of mine once told me that comparison is the thief of joy, and I cannot think of words that ring more true in this moment. Everyone is running their own race, or speeding their own runs, and the only finish line you need to worry about is the one you set for yourself. Thank you for joining me in this journey, whether it was in chat during the runs or watching this video now. I had an absolute blast tackling this challenge. If you enjoyed watching, please consider leaving a like or subscribing. I'm going to begin streaming on a part-time schedule, details in the description, and will continue to release more content like this in the future. If you have any other games you'd like to see me play or speedrun, tell me in the comments below or in our community Discord. But until then, go speedrun Dark Souls. I'll see you all next time. Peace.
charge that much. You will never beat this in under 1 hour. Watch me.